when I got here, there was these plant pots running all the way down the hallway, and that's because the customer and his son had dug holes. They started at the end where they had the leak before, and they dug random holes in different intervals just to check if the ground was wet. And yeah, this is like the whole way down the hallway. What's up guys, happy new year. Thanks for tuning in to my first video of 2022. Hope you had a good Christmas. I did over New Year's. I didn't go on social media at all, just left my phone off pretty much, put it on do not disturb, and enjoyed some time away with the family. Went to the seaside, so that was good, and I'm feeling refreshed, ready for the new year. Going to try and keep myself organised, which I say every year. I've got some fitness goals, and my goal with the YouTube channel is I really want to get to 100,000 subscribers. Now, I understand that's probably impossible this year, but my last video, which got about 45,000 views, 28,000 of those were from people who don't subscribe. So if you're one of those people, if you just hit that subscribe button, imagine getting 28,000 subscribers like that. That would be awesome. I'd probably wet my pants. So yeah, that's my goal. So I'm going to work hard at the YouTube channel. I'm going to work hard at work and work really hard at the gym, and hopefully just have a great year. And I hope to inspire some of you to have a great year. There's going to be some, hopefully this year, some gym videos, some more meal prep videos and stuff like that. Yeah, so before Christmas, I did a really interesting job, which is this job. Someone recommended me on Instagram. I went out to look at it. It was in Nottingham, so about half an hour drive from where I am. They had a leak under the floor. Now, they'd had Worcester out to look at the boiler. It was a relatively new boiler. They'd said that the boiler was fine. Pretty sure the leak was on the system somewhere. They'd had a leak on the system previously in the floor, so they were kind of thinking it's the same thing, just somewhere else. So I went over to look at it. Now, what I thought we'd do before we start showing you the video is just look at a sealed heating system where you can get a leak from, where you can lose pressure from, boiler system. Just go through that first, and then we'll look at the actual job. Now, the thing you've got to bear in mind about this job is the house apparently is being knocked down in the summer. They're building a house next door to it, like a temporary dwelling they're going to live in while this new house, well, the house they're in now is knocked down and the new house is built. So they wanted a temporary repair. So yeah, hopefully you'll find this video really interesting. It's one of those jobs where there's a leak somewhere, can't find it, what do you do? And yeah, I might talk to you again at the end. Right, so I've drawn this sealed system. So we've got the radiator circuit there, we've got our boiler here, and then some of the components inside the boiler. And I'm just going to talk through with you the places or how you can lose pressure from a sealed system. Now, this is like the way I would do it, or over the years what I've experienced. Like, there's one of them which is the heat exchanger pinholing and leaking out through the condense trap that I didn't know about until it happened to me. So these are all things that I've learned over the years. You might have different methods of doing it, but yeah, I'm just going to talk through that. So we've got our radiators, flow and return to the boiler. There's our boiler there. We've got a PRV there. This is our condense pipe here. So customer rings up, we're losing pressure every day. I have to top the pressure up. Okay, so first thing, have you noticed, this is the upstairs by the way, and this is the downstairs. Have you noticed any leaks from any radiators? That's the first thing. No. Have you noticed any wet patches on the ceiling? Yes or no? If it's yes, obviously you got a leak on the pipework somewhere. No? Okay, have you noticed any wet patches on the floor? No. So as far as they're concerned, at this stage, there's not a leak on the system. So it's possibly on the boiler. So we'll look at the boiler first. In the boiler, we've got our PRV here that goes outside, which can, as we know, can drip. right? So I just want to do this in a order that makes sense to people that don't know. So let's say this is our PRV here. Someone's been to work on the system and they've drained the system from the PRV just by opening it to let the pressure out, and then it's not reseated right. It could be dripping and losing pressure from there. Now, normally when a PRV is going, it's linked with the expansion vessel, but if someone has used it to drain down, it could be it's just a fault with that. There's a bit of muck in it, or it's just not sat down and that's dripping. Now, I went to a job before Christmas. What I will do, and I'll show you the video, is I'll tie a bag around the end of that, and then we can tell if there's any water in the bag after a few hours or after a day. Now, on the one I did, I put it on, and I was inside chatting with the customer, and when I'd finished talking to him, I came out and there was already water in the bag. So that's a kind of thing that I'll do first. Yeah, this was a call just before Christmas. Chap was losing pressure, went round. I'd already asked him if his PRV was dripping outside. He said not, but I tied the bag round, and while I was talking to him about options and other stuff, there was some water in the bag, and this was without the boiler running. So that's a great way of proving that the water's coming out of the PRV. If it's an issue with the expansion vessel, what you'll find is you'll set your bar pressure at 1 bar, say, and you turn your heating on. If the pressure goes up towards 3 bar pretty quick and then starts dripping out the PRV, it's because your expansion vessel's failed. So that's another way you can lose water out of the system. If that's okay and that's okay, a really random one that happened to me once on a Vakira Compact 25HE, I always remember it because I hated the boiler, hated the job. There was a pinhole inside the heat exchanger, so the water was dripping, going out through the condense trap into the drain. So there was no physical sign on the system, no sign on the PRV. It was losing it internally through the heat exchanger into the condense trap and out. The way you could check that, if you turn everything off, disconnect your condense pipe, put it into a bucket, and with the boiler not running, cold, see if you get anything drip into your bucket. If you do, then it's likely you've got this problem here. So now we'll look at determining whether, if you can't see any of these faults, anything leaking here or anything leaking here, you've got flow and return isolators on your boiler. What you can do is set your pressure. I'd say set it to like 1.5 bar, and then isolate these, and then leave it either for a few hours if you can, overnight if you can. And then when you go back the next day, the pressure should still be at 1.5 bar. If it's not, you've got a leak on the boiler because you isolated the system and your pressure gauge is on the boiler. So if it's less than 1.5 bar, which is what you left it at, you've proved that the leak's on the boiler, not on the system. If it's at 1.5 bar and then you open these and then it goes down, you've proved that the leak is on the system, not the boiler, if you get me. So there's sort of different ways of identifying a leak. Obviously the easiest one and the one to check first is, have you got any signs of leak anywhere? Then you can look at the PRV, expansion vessel, heat exchanger, and then you can go down the route of isolating the system from the boiler to prove where it's coming from, and then you can have a more detailed look. Now on this job, we were satisfied that it wasn't from the boiler and it was definitely on the system. And my first idea was, because they told me before, they've got these pipes running in this sort of concrete channel, he said, and they'd leaked before, but they had an obvious sign of a wet carpet around where the leak was before. They didn't have that this time, so I thought about going through the house with my thermal imaging camera and just seeing if, with the heating on, if I could pick up the pipes, number one, and then if I could see a spread of heat, say the pipe was leaking there, maybe the heat mark would spread out. That was my first option, rather than taking carpets up, moving all the furniture around. So that's what we did first. Right, so this job, system's losing pressure. It's Worcester boiler, it's a new boiler. Check the obvious things like expansion vessel, PRV, it's not letting by. But they're having to top it up every sort of 4 hours and it's getting worse. So, boiler's on the wall there, flow and return come up and along into this cupboard. I might have to turn the flash on. Hang on. There used to be a cylinder in here, that's been bypassed, and then the heating pipes come down, that's the flow and return there, along, and then see the floor's raised, they go into the floor, and then apparently they're running a channel all the way through the house to the radiators. Now, we've got a leak somewhere. This happened last year. They found the leak because the carpet was wet in one of the channels, found it pretty quick because the wet carpet, fixed it fine. We're a year later, got another issue of a leak. We suspect it's in the floor, but none of the carpets are wet. Now, what I thought we'd do is go around with the thermal imaging camera and see if I can see, one, where the routers to the pipes are, and then if we're lucky, where it's been leaking, if let's say we've got 2 pipes running here, we'll see the heat in a sort of straight line. If there's a leak, say on a T, we might see the heat sort of spread out because of the water leaking into the concrete. I don't know, that's what I'm hoping anyway. First thing I need to do though is check that we can see through the carpet with this. Okay, so we can see our flow and return there. Shut that door. Got my tea?
Yep.
Awesome, thank you.
My son and daughter-in-law have moved in with us with the kids and stuff everywhere. We moved out of our bedroom, we moved out this end of the house, we've gone out the other end of the house so they can have this end. And just as the family increases, the heating goes off.
Right, so I can see that. I can kind of see it's pretty spread out though. T there. I can see it, but it's not mad accurate because I can see some heat.
Yeah.
Because if I then look at something hot like that rad,
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
that disappears. So. Right, so them pipes are in that wooden box in there. Okay, they come through. I wonder if so under the bed there. Is there a possibility it's under the bed and that's why they can't see where the carpet's wet? That's a pretty big bed. That's a possibility. Right, here, they come straight down.
Okay, look.
I'll run it to Riverside, do you know?
Riverside? I don't think so. Ask Stu if he needs anything.
Tee off.
Just ask Stu if he needs out.
Cool. Just, have you had a look under the bed? So the pipe's in here.
Yeah.
Just show you up.
I had all this bed out about 2 weeks ago. There's no staining on the floor or anything.
Yeah, because they come straight under that bed.
Right, there was no staining under there, under the bed area.
Okay, on there. And we go that way. And then this is where you had the leak before in this corner.
That one's off. So turn one if you want. We couldn't get the return to run warm. So it comes in through here. It goes along.
Yeah.
That's some extension that somebody's put on. Go through the wall and then they go through the floor to the two radiators in there. The flow is red hot.
Yeah.
Return is cold.
Right.
Coming from those two rads over there. I don't know central heating that well, so I don't really know.
Well, they're the last one on the system.
Yeah, and the reason we've had to switch these two off here is so we can try and get some heat in that other room.
Does that do it?
Yeah, it pushes it through if we shut them two off.
The furthest away from your boiler, you know, depending on how many rads you got in the system, the size of the pump might not be strong enough to get the heat over there.
I mean, I expect the boiler. It's a big old boiler, but yeah, if the pump's not big enough, then that's. I think it's. I don't know. I've got 32 in me. I think it's 32. And I've got damp coming up here, look. I've got all damp coming up here, and I thought, oh, it must be leaking down here. So I've had a little lucky see, and you know, it's dry as a bloody bone.
Yeah. Is that pipe warm?
Yeah, but I can hold my hand on it. It's not boiling like most of them are. That one's switched off. This one's switched off, and the kitchen one's switched off.
Get a minute.
Because there was a bit of damp here. Come on, we dug up the floor here, so there's a hole under there.
Yeah.
And we've got the flow and return pipes going through there. There's no leak I can find. But as I say, the flow's red hot, the return's not. It's code.
Have you ever had the system flushed out?
No, we might want flushing, you know, it might be full of sludge, I don't know. Get down enough back. The pipes go into that little box there, through that wall.
Into the floor.
And then go under the floor, and they go straight past here. You can lift it all up if you want me to. Go to them radiators, but
Nelly,
we couldn't get the return warm.
are you helping?
It seems a bit erratic on when it empties itself as well, you know. We've had it go about 8 hours before it's actually gone down. And then for some reason.
Oh yeah, perfect.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Right, so this is the stage we're at. I've been around with my thermal imaging camera. There's no sign of a leak anywhere. What I was expecting, I don't know, but I was hoping to see some kind of heat spread. Didn't see it. So speaking to the customer about the two radiators that don't get hot at the far end of the house and the fact that it's never been flushed, I said we'll clean the system. It's got Magna Clean on it, so I'm going to attach my Magna Cleanse to that, run that through, clean the system up, get those two radiators working. Once I've done that, then we're going to add some leak sealer to hopefully get him by past Christmas, because this was the Wednesday, the Christmas day was on the Saturday. Now, don't really like using leak sealer, but in this case, thought it's worth a try. If it plugs it, great, get us past Christmas, maybe get us even until the house is knocked down. I said if it doesn't work, then your only options are either to dig the floor up, or if you remember one of my previous videos, you can get a company to come round, they'll drain the water out of the system and then they'll fill it with, I think it's helium. So you've got helium going through the pipes, and then they'll go around with a sniffer, and if they can sniff where the helium is escaping, it's more accurate than looking for water, basically. But that's the stage right now. So I'm coming back. The video you're going to see now is me coming back to clean the system, get those two rads working, and then add some leak sealer in and hopefully cure the problem. So in this cupboard here, we've got a 28mm Magna Clean. So I have just isolated that off there, and I'm going to undo these, take this off, and then going to attach my Magna Cleanse here and here. Okay, so let's filter out. I'll have a look inside that. There's quite a bit on that. Needs cleaning off. So using my Magna Cleanse, got my pack out, all my adapters and everything I need to get onto whatever system I'm using, Spiratex, Worcester filters, Magna Cleans, the old style, the new style, so that's all in there. And then obviously the actual twin magnets are in this one. So we'll get this set up. So this is the adapter that goes onto a normal 22mm Magna Clean. If you're going up to a 28mm, you have to put these on. So these just screw on there like that. And because there's movement on this, we can just line that up. So screw onto that one, and then screw onto that one, and then our flushing unit connects on here, like that. These will turn, so depending on where you're coming from, you can angle them the best way to suit you. So now we'll get the flushing unit connected. So as our hose cam locks, they push on and then lock on like that. So that's fixed, and the bottom one. And then these come down and we'll connect onto the MagnaCleanse. So before we connect it to the system, I'm just going to add some cleaner in here. To send that around the system. So they're connected on there where the MagnaClean was. It's now running through, I'd say they're 4 times the size of the one that was in, so a bigger one. We're going to now run the system through these bigger magnets, go around, agitate the rads, hopefully collect all the crap in here to clean the system out. So they're open now. The system water's going to run through here, and then to fill these up, we'll just vent them. There's my personalised rad key. If you want your own with your company logo on, company that makes easy stickers and that, I'll leave the link to that website in the description. Does all kinds of things like branded mats, clothing, business cards, anything you can put a logo on, he does it. Just filling it back up now with my apprentice, the screwdriver. So these 2 rads are the furthest away and they don't get hot. Got a little bit of heat coming through. But not much. And the same on this one. So the plan's to turn all the other radiators off and then just have this one on, and then we're going to use the agitator, which is SDS on hammer, and that's the agitator that just goes in like this. Muted the sound on this because it's quite loud, but basically what we're doing is with our SDS set to hammer only, with the agitator in, I'm just running it across the rad and it's basically vibrating the rad, shaking it up, and the idea is that all of the crap that's stuck inside the rad gets agitated, goes waterborne, and then as it's mixing with the water gets pumped back to our MagnaCleanse and hopefully sticks on the magnets, therefore cleaning up the radiator and the system. Obviously that's the boiler through the thermal imaging camera. These pipes are lagged. When we get to the actual there's the MagnaCleanse through the thermal imaging camera. You can see the hoses are hot where they join onto the system there. And like we saw before, there's the pipe work in the floor. So after agitating these 2 radiators, which were the ones that they said didn't get warm, you can see now we've got a hot rad. It was really cold at the bottom before. Now we've got 52 degrees at the bottom and about 70 at the top, 70, 75 at the top. I have got the boiler running on max at the minute, which is why it's quite hot. I managed to get them both hot, top to bottom. Obviously, I asked the customer to feel them to prove it, but I can also show them using the thermal imaging camera. It's great for showing the customers what you've actually done. Alright, just stop the boiler, isolated those, just see how much we've got so far. Not much. Expecting there to be a lot more than that. Right, so I've isolated the MagnaClean. I've drained down this chamber, so I'm going to add my leak sealer in now. This stuff, if you've not seen it before, it's like gloopy, a bit like PVA glue, not as thick, but so I'm going to put both of those in there. There we go. And then put this back in. When I open this back up now, that is going to get fed into the system through the MagnaCleanse. Clean the magnet and the shroud up, ready to put that back on. Clean those with these. These are my favourite wipes. If you've not used these before, Ultra Grime. They're like, what could you describe it as? Like a kitchen, like a J cloth. They're just, yeah. If you've not tried them before, trust me, try them. You will love them. Right, so the leak seal is in. I flushed that around the system, so I'm happy that that's in the system now. So I've turned these off so I can remove my MagnaCleanse. There we go, so that's off now, and then our nice cleaned up filter can go back on there, and then I'll open this back up, and then the boiler will run now with that leak sealer in it, and hopefully it will find this leak and I won't have to come back. Right, that's back on. I hate the 28mm ones. For some reason these always cross thread, same as those, the old white micro ones. Let's just be real careful with them. So that's the hoses, all the attachments back in the box. And the magnets, I've cleaned them both up. Very careful if you do this, don't let these magnets touch each other because they will grab. And if they do that while they're covered in black shit, one, it will flick everywhere, and two, it's a nightmare getting them apart. But we're going to let's go back in here. That lives in there like that. Right, so the stage right now, we've done the system clean and we've got the radiator, the two radiators working. We've added the leak sealer, but it's not worked. It got to about 1 AM. I think I left about lunchtime, and about 1 AM he messaged me and said, we've lost pressure, I've had to top it up again. When can you come back? And I explained to him it's not that easy now. We've done the leak sealer. The only other option we've got is to start basically digging floors up, or you get a company in with to fill it with the helium gas and sniff it out that way. Explained to him how busy I was, so he decided to, in the next morning basically, to start digging the floor up. And about 3 o'clock I got a text message off him saying that he'd found it, which was brilliant news. So then the next day I went back. I was working with Ben, so I took Ben with me, and this is what we found. When I got here, there was these plant pots running all the way down the hallway, and that's because the customer and his son had dug holes. They started at the end where they had the leak before, and they dug random holes in different intervals just to check if the ground was wet. And yeah, this is like the whole way down the hallway, and they actually found it right down at the other end near where the boiler, the flow and return enter the floor, down near the old cylinder cupboard. So this is where the leak was. Right on top of that T was another 28mm T, and that was leaking and obviously going straight down into the ground. There. So the customer found it, dug this out. Last night they used some speed fit to temporarily get it back online so they could use the showers and that. And we're going to now cut this all out and replace it with copper. Brought the big guns in to help me on this today. So the plan is we're going to do this one first. We're going to look the T down, come along and then up into that one. And then the second one will run on top of it so they're not touching. Oh, that's all that cut out. They run. It's like got, I don't know what's around it, but they're just running in some kind of channel. Not wrapped or nothing. Right, so there's our new piece of pipe. This is our old pipe. I've marked it there, and we're using a slip coupling, which is this socket here, so it's moving on the pipe. So line that up, and then twist that up to the mark. Tap it. Like that. Now then press that, and then this T, we're looking down to get onto that one. So then this one and this one can run over the top of it without them touching. Ready? Yep. A bit of tap. Okay, just got to press that in. That's kept them out of each other's way. So we're all filled back up now. That's the pipe work. They're going to take care of wrapping it, filling it back in, making good on the floor, so that's good. Radiator's nice and hot. So let's hope they don't lose any more pressure. But yeah, that was an experience.